Okay. See, we've got some folks coming in here already. Perfect. Yep. Hello, everybody. I think you guys can hear me. Yeah, should be able to. We'll give everybody a few minutes to join. Hi, Miss Bree up in Oregon. And Meredith in Oregon. Yeah. Okay, good. I figured you could. Hi, Lupita. I'm not normally the only one talking on the Zoom, so it's kind of weird. But it's good to just keep your mic on mute for now, and then we'll get to some chit chat and question and answer situations later on. Hope y'all can see me okay. These Mac Air webcams are terrible. Like the only thing really terrible about a Mac, I think, is their webcams. They're pretty bad. So I'm gonna turn this off for a couple of minutes and just let everyone start joining in. Go and get the recording going again. Okay. Give it another minute here. I want everyone to be able to join that's trying to get on here. Hopefully not too many of those texts. You know, that's the weird thing with Zooms. If you notice, I mean, I guess I need to go and set up no notifications during that or something because texts come through and all that. So to be able to hear y'all when you speak, I have to have the volume on. So it's kind of an annoying Zoom feature, I think. But anyway, I'm so proud of myself for actually putting slides together to kind of organize my thoughts more than anything, because I could just ramble on the subject of Teams for a while and nobody wants that. But yeah, we've been there and done it, and it's been 5 years now. So looking back, there's some things that I probably would have done differently had I been able to. I'll give it about, okay, it's 4 o'clock on the dot. So it'll be some little intro here going on. So let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. There we go. There we go. Share. There's everybody's faces. Okay. So can y'all see that okay? Everybody can see, I think. I'm pretty sure you can. All right. So it's 4 o'clock. Let's just go ahead and get going here. This is going to be recorded, so hopefully if anybody misses the beginning or wants to see it, they'll be able to do that. In the meantime, if you can't hear or if there's any kind of problem, if you would just take off your just put your camera back on and kind of flag me down, or your mute button, either one, and we'll go from there. So I was talking to a team leader a few days ago, less than a week ago, who I'd seen in another Zoom call, a coaching situation, talking about how she'd really been struggling and how they'd lost some team members. And so I said, you know, we should just visit and just compare notes. If nothing else, you know, have somebody, a shoulder to cry on or whatever, because when you're a team leader, it is lonely at the top, right? I'm really, really fortunate that my husband and I do this together. So it's not the same, right? I do have something to share that with, and so does he. But some of you guys I know do this really by yourself, and I cannot even imagine what that must feel like sometime. So I found out that she was sharing a lot of the same sentiments and feelings that I've been hearing from other team leaders and broker owners. And for these purposes, if you own a brokerage or you're running a team, it's pretty much the same thing. So no difference. I'm using those interchangeably. So I literally joked and said, I need to stand up and say, you know, my name is Tammy and I'm a team leader, kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous, basically, because it's an interesting situation, and figuring out why we do what we do is also interesting. Let me put this thing in play mode. Now, here we go. And let's go down to our slides. So I believe that broker owners, team leaders, all have a few things in common. So I started thinking, what makes us take on this crazy job, good or bad? What are the things that we have in common? And I came up with, for one thing, we're the ones who are most willing to take risk. Everything in real estate, I mean, you're self-employed basically, right? So whether or not you have a living is anybody who's straight commission is already taking risks. But as a team leader, you're not just taking risks, you're also footing the bill usually for a lot of things. You're buying Zillow leads, you're doing this, there's all kinds of things, and make sure somebody's not telling me they can't hear. Okay, no, they're good. Yeah, it's one of those situations. A lot of people are messaging me, I don't have enough sales service. Everybody in Texas, if y'all didn't know, we're in a massive ice storm. But that's okay, we're getting it going. So we're all the ones that are willing to take the risk. Often we lease a space, we pay for leads, we hire admin. That's a big risk that typical agents, team agents, often aren't willing or able to take on. I find most team leaders really have a true desire to help agents grow. They really get satisfaction, I think we do, right, from seeing someone that we're teaching about the business and how to do things. We love seeing them succeed. Not only is it financially beneficial to us, I think a good team leader genuinely enjoys seeing something great happen for their team agents. I think we all have that in common. And I do think we all need to be appreciated. Now, like words of affirmation and gifts and things like that aren't really my love language, so I always think I'm pretty low on this scale. But what I do find is, is that we're pretty thin-skinned though when we don't feel appreciated. Because I think the thing is with the team, we realize how much we have on the line, how much we're risking and how hard we're working. And when it seems like they don't appreciate it, it hurts our feelings, I think, right? It either makes us mad, makes us indignant, or it just, I think, hurts us to our core, because what we are trying to give value and bring to them is not being appreciated. I think we're naturally competitive. We want to build a team because we can, and because everyone says you need to build a team. Team will always outperform the individual. How many times have we heard that? A million. Team will always outperform an individual. Which of course it will in terms of numbers. We have to decide if that makes sense and what the point of all that is, but we're competitive. If we're told that building a team and a great team is the thing to do, we're not only going to do it, we're going to do it best. We're going to do it better than everybody else, right? Desire to leave a legacy. I really think a lot of us want to think there's something bigger than just our 9 to 5, or let's face it, we're in real estate, it's more like 24/7, 365, right? But something bigger than that, something that outlives us and just kind of carries on and has more meaning than just selling some properties. We want to be able to pour into other people and have them grow and learn from that, I do believe. So here's our story. Let's go back to 2015. People are usually surprised when they find out we've only been in real estate 5 years now. We just passed the 5-year anniversary of our first closing, believe it or not. So in 2015, by the end of the year, we did 3 deals, and 2 of them were ours. We bought and sold something, so kind of funny. So 2015, I married this fine-looking gentleman here, and Mr. Westpac, and he lived in another town about 100 miles away, and he had a great job. And I was like, he has got to move here, because I've got 2 kids still in school, the 2 girls on the far right there, and I've got my business here. So I really need him to move here, but what are we going to do? So I told him the business I'd been turning away for years was real estate. So he said, okay. We went back and forth for a while, and he thought, this makes sense. We're going to do it. So that's what we did. We jumped in both barrels, all the barrels we had, and really went for it with full out marketing blitz, trying to gain market share as quickly as we could. Because Wes and I were 48 and 50 when we got married, and we were like, okay, we can't be number 1 in 10 or 20 years. We need to be number 1 soon. Because my thought was, real estate's a great job, but what little I know of it, it's cyclical, right? We all know that there's times when the market's great and times when it's not so great. So my thought was, number 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, they're still selling some deals even in a down market. Number 17 in a market our size, I don't want to be number 17 if times get lean. So we thought we got to go all in right now, get to the top, and get moving. So we did. So if y'all can see that there's our little sign. So at first it was just Wes and myself, and then Tammy Smith, who's there, and Emily both worked for us in our reservation service. And said, y'all both need to get your licenses too. We'll just do this together. And it's a great fit because in our town, we sell a lot of vacation rooms, a lot of B&Bs. So you guys already have the backing. You know what it's about. So let's just go ahead and get it going. Then Catherine on the far right, if you can see her, reached out and said, you know, the marketing you guys are already putting out there and you're just starting is amazing and no one's doing something like that. So we brought her on. Best thing we ever did because we really, none of us had any idea what we were doing. I always say Catherine kept us out of jail because she was like a 12 or 13 year agent. She'd already coached other agents. She taught bold classes for Keller Williams. So she had a great background. And so that was our nuclear little family right there. And it was a lot of fun. But we very, very quickly started growing because that's what you do, right? You got to have a big team. You got to have a lot of people. So we grew, let's see, this would be about probably early 2019 that this was taken. So you're looking at 2016, early 2019, so about maybe a 2.5 year time span or so. You know, if you're going to have a team, the more agents, the better. You got to be big. You got to grow. You got to have your numbers, right? So that's a pretty good looking group there, like all those folks. So then, we not only do we have trainings and all of these great things, I was lucky to get to speak at Tom Ferry Summit in 2017. And so we even flew, this isn't even all of them. There's a few of them that were sitting in another section. We even flew, I think 7 or 8 people from our team out to Tom Ferry Summit since I was going to be speaking. We got the matching outfits. So start adding this up. Hotel rooms, flights, meals per diem, swag, all of this, all adds up, right? So that was a lot of fun. And we look back at this picture. So that was 2017, August 2017. We look back at that photo the other day and we're like, they're all gone except one. One remains. And the funny thing, you may recognize the resemblance. That would be my daughter. So she can't go anywhere. She's blood. So my point is, you build it all up. You take people, you spin, and they do what's best for them in the long run. So let's continue our story along. So that we started in 2015. We started as an independent brokerage from day one, Absolute Charm Real Estate, LLC. 2018, Mary Maloney, who I think joined me on this call here, had this big idea. She and Kyle Whistle and Dan Beer to join, they were also, Mary and Kyle, if you guys know them, were also independent boutique brokerages, basically. Mary's been running North County there forever in San Diego, and Kyle's the #1 brokerage office in San Diego for 4 years running, according to the Wall Street Journal. So knew them both from Tom Ferry Team Plus, good friends, and they both announced they're going to EXP. I'm like, oh my word, now I've really got to think about something new. We just got going. I'm sure it's great, but boy, I don't even want to have to think about this. But I did. I said, because they're the smartest people I know in this business, and if they're doing it, whatever it is, I must need to do it. So pretty much, we started in 2015. 2018, we became a team at EXP. Changed nothing. Our sign colors, that just now says Broker by EXP Realty. It's been very much business as usual. People in town don't even pay attention. I don't know if they even know. It's on the signs, but I don't think they really care. They just know that we're doing the Absolute Charm thing. So in 2018, believe it or not, in under 3 years, we hit #1 in volume for the first time ever. And that was huge. Because people were telling us, we were getting an independent brokerage. People were telling us, you're not Century 21, you're not Remax, you're not this, you're not that, you're not German enough, you're not local enough. I'd only been here 25 years, and that's not local in Fredericksburg. Sad to say. But I was like, oh yeah, I know we will, and I know we can. I have no limiting beliefs that we won't be able to get to #1, because I looked around at what the other people in town there were doing, and I'll never forget one guy, one website, literally on the front page of their website, there was a coupon for $500 off closing costs, if you can even imagine that, a coupon. So yeah, I was like, yeah, we're going to do well. So in 2019, when this photo was taken, that was the following year, we were #1, not only in volume, but also in transactions. We sold 229 sides that year, which, believe it or not, in our small town of 10,000 people, it's very much of a tourist town, very high end, but our small town, that's the most that had ever been sold by any office in history. So we're really proud of that. And yes, in 2020, we were #1 again. So what happened is this group from 2019 closed 229 deals. And then in the end of 2019, we had 5 people leave. So that was a big switch. You might notice this is actually a little smaller group than we showed before, right? So after never having, so we'd gone about a good 4 years, because this is what I'm really kind of getting to now. How many of you have looked and said, oh, so-and-so never loses agents on their team, and they're just the tightest team ever. They're so great, and I just can't live up to that standard. Well, here's how things really go. Now I look at it and go, not yet. Because after never having lost an agent that we didn't want to lose or that we didn't ooch to the door, 5 agents left at the end of 2019, our biggest year in history. Why? We're all told, if you're in any kind of coaching, or if you've ever watched anything or read anything or not just lived under a rock as a team leader, you've been told if people leave your team, it's because our culture must not be good enough. So they don't necessarily say that, but they say it's all about culture and having your culture be good. So, that's really kind of a depressing thing, because people leave. And if your culture is not good, that kind of makes you a failure as a leader for not providing a good, warm, happy place. People are difficult, right? Agents are difficult, and a lot of them have a lot of drama. But all 5 of ours left, tears in their eyes, kind of choking up, giving hugs, every one of them. None of them left unhappy. They all just said it was for different reasons. It was primarily because they were going to make more money, right? I mean, nobody left saying, I don't like it here. I don't enjoy being here. I don't like you. I had 0 of that. I know a lot of you have been through that, but I've been fortunate there. The other thing they say is the reason people stay is because it's not about the split. We've all heard it. It's not about the split. It's about the value proposition. I'm like, okay, so I'm not doing a good enough job differentiating our value proposition, which may be true, because one thing we've done, which I look back and go, is it right or wrong? We've had a bunch of brand new agents. And I like that because we don't train them out of bad habits. I don't like it, and then I find they cannot appreciate what we do for them. Because the ones I find who've appreciated us most are the agents who've been other places. One of our most seasoned agent runs our land and ranch division. Has popped his head in before and has literally said to me, he's like, you do a lot for your agents. He goes, honestly, you probably do too much for them. And he goes, they really can't appreciate it because they haven't been anywhere else. He goes, no other broker in town is doing this, no other team, but they don't know it, right? So when you give people something from birth, basically, in the business, it's like spoiled kids, right? If I've raised mine to think they are entitled to this, this, and this, because they've always had it without question or discussion, then they're entitled. And they just assume they can go somewhere else and get it just as well. So we spent money like maniacs. We trained constantly. We've, in 2019, I think I look back and our payroll that year for administrative and support staff was like $335,000. So we were giving them everything. And the more we gave them, the more complaints we got, the more it wasn't quite good enough yet, right? And training, oh my goodness, we have our Monday sales meetings, we have our Wednesday team trainings, and literally one of the 5 agents that left told another of our agents a few months later, oh, well, the best thing about it is I haven't had to go to a single meeting. I thought, well, ain't that great? That is just fantastic that you don't have to learn anything. So, yeah, so it is. So the reality is, for the most part, they left for one reason, or they will leave for one reason: money. And the great thing is, I'm not putting anybody down for this. This is just the way it is. This is the human condition. This isn't right, wrong, good, bad. This is just reality. People, they say the 2 things that we all know are for sure are death and taxes. My friend Dan Beer likes to say death, taxes, and taking care of number 1. He goes, we're all going to do what puts food on the table because we all have, and it's not even a selfish thing. We have to take care of our families. So the minute they think they've learned enough, the minute they can make another $150 at the next place, they're going to do that. So out of those agents, we had taken every one of them from selling 0 to being 2 of them in the top 10 of our MLS, and the others were probably in the top 30 to 40, and all had significant sales track records because primarily desk duty and training. We had one of the agents, matter of fact, had a $5.5 million buyer call in on one of our listings, of course, and they were able to close that. So to the outside recruiters, they look like they are just all that, right? And they are. I mean, they're good agents. They're very well trained agents, and they're hardworking agents. But we took them from 0, put them on this stage here, basically, and then everybody else came and said, hey, I'll charge you way less. I'll charge you less. We tried to keep the 2, particularly who were in the top 10. And here's what we had done. Our normal situation at our office is a 60-40 split where we get 40 and we give our agents 60. Most teams will say it needs to be 50-50. So we already feel like we're going a little bit above and beyond, right? So, but then we had said, look, after you bring in 72,000 company dollar, then we're going to switch you for the rest of the calendar year to 90-10. give you some bonus money, right? Of course, that was the dumbest thing we have ever done, because all that did was, now they're used to giving us 10%. So January 1st, they've got to go back to paying us 40. Nobody really wants to make that change, right? So what we did is built in a system for failure. What we did do in December is we decided to show the whole team our P&L. We're like, we're going to be this great culture. We're showing transparency. We're like, look, guys, we're going to show you what we're spending, and we want your input on this. If this is how you want it spent, because I find we get in this bad cycle, team leaders do, I think, where the tail wags the dog. And I know this because with EXP, it's given me an opportunity to bring on team leaders and broker owners and having these conversations with them. Otherwise, you don't know what other team leaders are doing, right? I do, because I'm having conversations with people who be like, oh, I really want to do this. This is going to be great. I know it's going to be great for our team. What will my team do? So I'm seeing personally, that's probably what's got this on my mind. I'm seeing people let the tail wag the dog. We've let the tail wag the dog before, right? What I have figured out and what I've started telling people is most will stay with you, and the ones who leave won't be there much longer anyway. Do you really think whichever one you're worried about on your team that's not going to stay with you through the move or through whatever you guys may be going through with me, this is the conversation I have on a regular basis. Which are the one or two you're worried about that may not make the move with you? Are they going to be there in 5 years anyway? Are you making your decisions based on pleasing them? I'm showing them a daggum tax returns. And you know what they do? They start looking at it, and the 5 who ended up leaving were all extremely complimentary. One of them said, I almost changed my mind, decided to stay because that was just so nice and open of you to share all that with us. But she went somewhere else where, that one went somewhere else where they took less money from her. I think they take 20 or 25% over there. And she didn't need to go to any meetings. That made her very happy. The other went to be with her aunt's company, who again took less money. And she had the nerve to tell us. My aunt said, just go over there and get all your training and then come over here. Don't you love being a trainer during those first 2 to 3 years when they make almost bupkis for you? Yeah, that's that whole appreciation thing, right? Get fed up with that. The other one left because she was really best friends with this one and got crossways with the different one that was leaving. The other 2 just left because of the money. And after looking at and seeing what we spent and what we did, they said, I said, you know what? I'm even willing to let you guys, this is how much the tail was wagging the dog, guys. I said, you know what? To keep your production and to keep peace and everything calm, I'm willing to go ahead and keep your 90-10 permanent, which is really what they wanted, and keep you on 90-10, but you can't have desk duty, right? You can't take my $5 million buyer lead and give me 10%. Well, they didn't like that. I'm like, if you think you need our desk duty, then why are you going somewhere else, right? I mean, if you need desk duty, you need desk duty, you pay for it. I even told them desk duty leads will be at 60-40, but you can work your own sphere for 90-10. Still wasn't good enough. Well, I'm telling you, once you start chasing the split, and everybody goes, oh, just make more good culture. Good luck with that. Our culture was great. Who else is flying people around the country for trainings, having shirts, boas, horns, fun stuff? You know, yeah, it all comes down to money. And at some point, the money doesn't make sense. I will at least say in their favor, after looking at the P&L, they came in and said, okay, we've made the decision to go, and it's really hard because one of them, who is in the top, said, got her license because I started a real estate company. She sat down and told me, I've always wanted to do this, but not with anybody here in town. But when I heard you were opening a real estate company, we're friends and I'm going to do it. But the minute she could make more money, she's going to take care of her family. She's going to do it. She just is, right? Very rare that they don't. So and she literally looked at it and she goes, you shouldn't offer us 90-10. It does not make sense for you. And I don't even want to see you do something that's not good for your business. And it's just dumb. So this other model is just doing something dumb, but that's their problem, not mine. Keep on trucking, guys. So this is what we have right now. There are 13 of us, counting me and Wes. And I will say very happily with this exact group of 13, we were #1 in 2020, just as we were in 2019. We did over $100 million, the only agency to break 100 million. I think we did 107. And the second place did 87 million, just to give you a little perspective of what we did. And this, I can tell you, is the best team ever. They are loyal, they are amazing, and they're all going to stay until they don't. Right? Right now, it feels like this is the gang, the fizzle schnizzle. They're never leaving us. They love us. They're loyal. And there are some people in there that I do believe that about. But they're going to do what's best for them in the long run. They're going to stay until they don't. And in the meantime, I'm pouring in and pouring in and pouring in, just like you guys are, right? At some point, it gets tiresome telling agents to want what you want them to want. You know, not just you. I've had so many times when I said, I want something so badly for my team. I want them to make their calls. I want them to succeed. I want them to want to come to the office and feel the mojo and the magic. And some do and some don't. But I don't think people from the outside and team agents can realize how tiring, how draining it can be on a team leader to want what we want them to want. At some point, we need to realize they want what they want, and we've got to find out how to work within that system. That's the only way to be set up for success. Because right now, a lot of us aren't doing that, okay? And yet somehow we still want to build teams because it's who we are. I've already been through that list earlier. We're competitive. We like to help people. We want to see them grow. We just have this drive to do something that creates a legacy, right? So this is one person's opinion. And trust me, there are people out there crushing team models. But I'm friends with a lot of them, and I see a lot of what's behind the scenes that they don't share, not because they're being secretive, but just because either nobody's business or they think it's not really relevant to anyone else. I see some of the top teams anywhere running models where they have like a $35,000 cap to their agents, and then realizing again, I've got to have so many of these because this just does not pay. So many of them doing split models where it's one split based on your sphere, one based on team leads, and I totally get that model. But that's a lot of tracking this girl does not want to do. I don't want my admin to do it. And I don't want to argue with agents, especially in a small town where, yeah, well, they came in the door, but I've known them since high school. So I think they're really my sphere. They're walk-ins, right? So I don't want to get into all that. But for me, what I've observed personally is what makes the most sense about having a team. Number one, this scenario. I have a friend up in Boston, and she would probably, if she was on here, she would probably tell us all the horror she's been through. But at least in theory, her model makes sense to me. Being in a large city, a big area where there's tons of agents available, that's not us. There are no more than 100 agents in our whole town that sell a measly $1 million a year. So I know that as team leaders, right, one of our biggest fears is always you're training your competition. And we're like, okay, we're all coached. That's a scarcity mindset. There's enough to go around. It's all good. And I totally agree with that. But it's a different conversation if I'm in San Diego with 33,000 agents and someone leaves my team. The odds are that I may never do a deal with that person or ever see them again. When I'm putting people out there in the top 10 in the MLS, I just gave them all my secrets, all my training, all my negotiating, all of our B&B rental data, how to run. They don't know what a pro forma was or how to read a P&L. I taught them that. And now that little small group is the people I'm competing against all the time, right? So when it makes sense to me, when I say run like a machine, I mean, you're in a big city where there's lots of agents where you can take them, whether they're new or whatever your model is, you run them through systems and processes, and you have enough of them that you can pay someone to do this, where you have got to have systems, processes on lockdown and know that they will stay with you 18 months to 2 years. Coaches say all the time, they're probably going to stay with you 18 months. I'm like, that's not enough. That's not enough for me to now have to tell them everything I know, sit across the table from them and deal with this. 18 months is not enough. I'm not going to make almost anything off of them during that amount of time. And more importantly, to me, it's mentally draining and it's hurtful when they leave. I don't care when they leave giving you a hug and you wish them well. It still feels like a rejection. Am I right? I think it does. So I can see teams making sense if you can be kind of emotionless. My friend tells them it's 50-50 split. If you ever, we're discussing it today, if you ever ask again, you'll automatically be fired because it will never change. This is what it is. If you grow beyond this, then you need to go do something different, right? So I can see in that situation where you're like, I'm not getting invested. I'm paying someone to run this, which as we all know is a lot harder than it sounds to find that magic person who can do all of it. But I can see it. If you're in a big enough area where there's enough agents that you know that you can easily crank in some decent people. We've got everyone in this town that I want, right? But there's 2 or 3 people, obviously, that are super high producers who are not going to join any team. But beyond that, where else am I going to get them? It's a small area. Number 2, and I think this is huge for everyone. This is why I'm so glad we did it no matter what happens in the future. We're number 1. We've been number 1 pretty solidly now, and we are in the number 1 position strongly right now in 2021. And so Lord willing, I expect we will be number 1 again. That means a lot. because the truth is that slide I showed you with the 13 people, if 8 or 9 of them leave and we're down to 4 or 5 of us, just family basically, guess what? A lot of people out there in the world aren't really going to notice, and they're going to go Absolute Charms #1, and the calls are just going to come into us. The walk-ins are going to come into us, and we're going to keep a whole lot of that business. Plus, we also know we will get a lot of other business because there are people on the team will say, this is my sphere. And yes, it is. But I know from having heard the stories before, sometimes the sphere goes, oh boy, I really like you, but I'm sure glad you're with Absolute Charm. So we don't know if they really would have gone with that person had it not been that good combo, right? And the agents forget that there is a combo effort of, yes, you're Susie, and I like you, Susie, but you're Susie with Absolute Charm versus Susie on her own or doing whatever it is. So building your brand and reputation, even if they all leave, sometimes takes more bodies and more salespeople to get it. Now, if you're in a huge market, maybe that means breaking the top 20. Maybe it means breaking X number of $1 million. Whatever it is that you can use to market going forward, that's a reason to build a team. Use for success for your coaching, mentoring, and agent attraction. You guys all know that obviously a big part of my business model is bringing people into EXP with agent attraction. And let's just face it, it's not impossible to do it. I mean, there are some of the most humble, simple, but have, systems and processes in place and do an amazing job at attracting people. But the majority are people that have shown they had success building a team, right? And I get that. I like to have a coach that knows what it's like to actually build a team. I like to have a coach who, and mentor, someone that I'm working with that can show me, oh, so you went from 0, nothing to #1 in under 3 years. So you might know a thing or two about how to do it. And you didn't have any special help. You didn't have a big franchise. You weren't even from there. You weren't born there with a good old German name, and you did it, right? So it's very important to use as a platform for other things, for speaking, for writing a book, all of those things. So those to me are the things I'm still seeing as good reasons. So what are you going to do, right? What am I saying? Am I about to go fire my team? No, absolutely not. Really enjoy the team. The difference is I've now got my, I don't use the word barriers even, but I have my boundaries. Let's use that word. I now have my boundaries of what I'm not going to be told to do. And if it makes sense for them to make a different choice, I'm going to do my best to be happy for them, period. But the tail's not going to wag the dog. The dog has to make the right decisions, right? For example, when we went to EXP, everyone on my team was kind of like, I don't know. I mean, we were already #1. Why would they want to change anything? What's in it for them, right? They didn't really, they were ambivalent at best. Wes and I were into it, but we had to make a decision, right? Because finally I said, these people may stay, these people may leave me tomorrow regardless. And am I really going to let them control my business? Now, for you, that may be on a different topic, but whether it's are you buying into an expensive CRM? Are you sending them on trips back when you can, right? Where they get training and things. Just think really smart about that and don't be told what to do by people that may or may not stay in the long run. So I've asked myself many times, I don't regret any of it because we needed to be #1. We've had some fun. We've had a lot of fun. We've met some great people. We've worked with great agents, but just trying to be intellectual at the moment. What would I do? What model would I choose if I were to go back in time? What would I recommend to someone as possibly being the smartest model? How do you find team members who will stay? All right, that's #1. This is the answer in my book. At least it's one of the answers. So if you don't run the situation where you're going to run it like a beast, like a machine, and crank people through, they're in, they leave, whatever, and you're going to make what you make on them, and you've run your numbers and you can sustain that. What I'm finding to be really good, we hired, a little over a year ago, we hired a woman and gave her a $50,000 salary, which was very good in our area. She had to get licensed, which she did. And we said, we want you to be our assistant, mine and Wes's. And we're paying you a salary and benefits to do that. But over time, we started looking right around the time she started. And I said, there's some buyers that Wes or I, neither one really have the time or the bandwidth to deal with. She's licensed. Why don't we let her go take them around? And so we said, hey, you can work the deals during your 40 hours that you're working for us, right? If you need to fill out a contract, do it. When you're done, go back to doing our stuff. But you can have this buyer. And when it closes, you're going to get a bonus. You're going to get 25% of the commission. We're going to get 75%. So she loved that idea. And guess what? This employee who came to us, whose main questions were, how much paid time off do I get? because they already recognize as an employee, you don't own your life, right? And that's the biggie for most realtors. We know we didn't want that. So how much paid time off can I get? To this gal working nights and weekends on her own. Because think about it, if you're offering them a decent salary and benefits where they can stay and they have the opportunity, you know, our commission checks are pretty big around here. So let's say they average 10,000, that's probably on the low end. So that'd be a $2,500 bonus for her. When you're getting a salary and benefits, that's a lot of money. That's money you can start paying off bills with, paying your car off, saving up, socking money away. That was a really good model. Then COVID hit, so we told her, I don't know if I want to do this. I said, we don't really need an assistant at the moment. You're already in full-time sales. You're a salesman. Why don't you sell? So she now took that leap because she had to, and it was a great time because the federal government, of course, was giving unemployment. And so looking back, she told me just the other day, she goes, you couldn't pay me to go back now. And she goes, but I never would have made the jump if you hadn't made me. She goes, I wouldn't have done it. And now I have so much flexibility to take care of my elderly parents and the things I need to do. Now I leave and I don't owe anyone an explanation of where I'm going. But she says, I would never have left because I wanted that security. So who I think stays? People who are hooked on the crack of a salary. They want that crack cocaine of salary and bonus. And then if you give them that little extra goodie for going out and showing, I started thinking, you know, right before COVID happened, I was like, I need some social media marketing help. You know what? I think I want to hire me a social media person who I like. Tell them the same deal. Get your license. I'm going to send you out on deals and you'll get 25% of it. I was like, you know what? I think you could build around you a whole little group of people doing your bidding, what you need actual help in real life with. And so I'm like, so what if they're showing during our paid time or whatever? They're not going to be doing that 40 hours a week. Or if they are, get 75% of the commission, right? I'll hire me another one and let that one be helping with my admin for a little bit. I'm telling you, it was a really interesting model that was working. And going back in time, you could do one of two things. And I know some folks who very successfully run this model up in the Panhandle. And she says, oh, you put the production under your name. It all goes under you. So these kind of folks don't really probably even care to ever build their business or their name. So yes, they close it all under you. You go to number one. You keep the leads. You own everything. You keep the relationships, right? Because these are the guys who aren't leaving. So if you've been in any kind of coaching system, you've heard DISC to death, right? DISC profile. This is what you've got to do to know who you need to hire, who's going to stay. Because if you haven't yet had people leave your team, you will, and you will learn to hate it, and you will dread it, and you will do anything to avoid it. So look at this, and I can't see the comments since I'm screen sharing, but put in there, which one do you think is the DISC profile of a good admin, A or B? Which one do y'all think, A or B, is the correct admin personality? Because I'm going to tell you, the person that is A is the person that I just talked about, who was on salary plus bonus, and she had the perfect SCID. Her D and I are a little bit backwards there, but close enough. S and C have to be the highest, and she was. Interestingly, though, the person over here, number B, that person is my dear friend Tammy Smith, who has been working for me for 14 years, running things, amazing. And really, her DISC profile, we've taken it before, and her D was even way higher. When it just with the option of the test that just gives you one number, she was all D. So which one are you supposed to hire, high S or high D? You're supposed to hire high S. So I was looking at this and thinking, man, Agent A here, who was our paid staff and is doing a great job and never going to leave us, as she said. B has told me a million times, oh no, I do not want to be you. I don't care what my DISC profile says. I do not want to be you. I'm terrified of being you. I will never give up my steady paycheck. She goes, I love the fact I can do real estate, and with her, we have a different deal, but she's got her own deal set up, and she gets a great bonus. She goes, that's great. She goes, I want my good paycheck, my good benefits, and I want the bonus. But I look at this and I go, well, then how can I hire? Because these are very different people, a high D and a high S. One I should have hired, one I shouldn't. But let's look at this. I have discovered something called the Enneagram. If you have not yet done the Enneagram, you must do it. Google it. There's tests everywhere, free tests. So it gives you a personality 1 through 9. And then you'll also have a wing, which is to your left or your right. So you might be a 9 wing 1 or a 9 wing 8, basically. Guess which one of these personality types both of them were? They both, one's a high D, one's a high S. DISC would have led me astray, but the Enneagram, they are both 6s, and they're the only 2 6s on our entire group. We had 15, 16 people, counting some of our staff, taking this test. The only 6s we had were my 2 most stable, loyal admins who never want to leave or risk a paycheck. Pretty fascinating, right? DISC said they're very different, but Enneagram got to the real heart of the matter. Guess what they're called? What is it called over here? Security seeker. 6s are security seekers. How perfect is that? Do they want to branch out with the next group that tells them they'll charge them less money? No. Read this. Their basic fear is of being without support and guidance, and their basic desire is to have security and support. Huh? Hopefully that was worth the price of admission right here, is just to know that I would love to have some of you guys give your group the Enneagram test. Just send it out to them, let them take it for fun, and see if you have any 6s, and see the common things. One may be a high C, one may be a high I, real friendly, but if they're 6s, security is what drives their decisions. This is the personality type that's not going anywhere. If you can make their life secure, right? So I don't know about you guys, but for me at least, that was hugely eye-opening, and I urge all of you to look into it. You can still do the DISC, it's got its own values, but for me, I think this was a lot more helpful because it said they were different and they were very much the same. I think the last slide I have before I quit sharing, before we go into Q&A, a little chit-chat, visiting, is at the last minute, I threw this on here. Who is up for an in-person mastermind only for team leaders and broker owners? You can message me on Facebook, you can text me, and let me know. If you guys saw Mark Pattison, Mary Maloney, and I just did one in Austin, and it was amazing. We had 55 people there, I believe. Everyone had to have a negative COVID test within 7 days of the conference. To my knowledge, no one's had any issues whatsoever. It was 3 weeks ago, I guess. It was incredible, and it's so heartwarming. I've had so many agents write back out and say that was the best conference I've ever been to. So it was amazing. But Mark and Mary and I, and so our next one is planned for Nashville. We're just kind of getting that all kind of lined up at the moment. And this is actually this picture is an actual picture inside the hotel that we booked out for Nashville. It's going to be amazing. But Mark and Mary and I have been kicking around possibly doing one that's just for team leaders and broker owners, because the conversations are a little different, right? And the last one, we had a nice mix of everything, but that is something that we are definitely talking about doing this year. There's some great opportunities already. Like I'm in Tom Ferry Team Plus, love, love, love it. Love Coach Mike, have no intention to ever leave. I'm not trying to take their place. I'm not trying to usurp anything there, but for various reasons, they being a bigger organization just cannot do in-person events. And I don't know about you guys, but we're starving for them. I mean, the agents that came to Austin were like, thank you. And the level of giving and sharing there was unbelievable. So this is just something I threw in. So you can just let me know if that's something you want. We're doing them only, just like we did Austin, invite only, because we just can't open it to the public. Because I really believe with nothing else going on, not because we're so great, but I feel like we could have 500 there. No, we could probably have 1,000 there. Whatever, just because there's no other events and people want to get out, right? But we don't want that. That's not the event we're looking to do at this time. We're wanting to keep it in that 50 to 60 range. So we're having to keep it very small, because what's the point if you don't have time to sit down and have a 2-hour conversation at lunch with me or with Mary Maloney or Mark or with that person sitting across from you at the table that you really like their model and you want to ask some more questions, right? So the whole point is it has to be small to keep access to us and to each other. Right. So just let me know if you want to be on that list, and I will see what I can do and at least keep in contact with you about it. For right now, I'm going to stop sharing so that I will be able to, if I can get my little mouse to come over here. Where'd my mouse go? I'll try to stop sharing so I can see your questions and comments. I think that's going to let me do it. Yes, maybe. Can y'all see anything there? Let me try escape. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Do we have any questions? Any questions, concerns, what have yous, right? Yes, all hands down true. Thank you, Peter. Wasn't that an amazing time? The best, yes, Clay. It was so good. Yeah, the masterminds, youth growth already. It has been amazing. Please just message me. And I'm glancing at these and checking. Okay, how do you hold your agents accountable? You know, that's a great question, because that's another thing. There's been times in the past where we've offered, not only for our sales manager we had at the time, but for me to have one-on-one coaching with people, and getting them to even want to do that is very difficult. So I'm at the point where I don't know that I'm going to hold my agents accountable, right? I mean, I think that's kind of my point. I'm tired of working for them to that degree. It's like at some point you have to want some things for yourself, and it's a little disheartening to have to do it. So I will tell you what we do. Really the only thing we do, because even getting them to fill in their numbers was pulling stinking teeth to the point where it's making life unpleasant, and it's just not worth it to me. The one thing we do is to get our desk duty shifts, because our agents get a lot from desk duty. We have one agent been with us, been licensed a year and a half, and this last year she sold $12 million with number 17 in our MLS. 19 of her 20 closings were from desk duty. So it's a big deal out of $12 million. So what we do is Monday morning we get there and we say, okay, who all was at Wednesday training? You. Okay, you get a point. Who all went on Tuesday caravan? Get a point. Who all got a new buyer's rep? Oh, you got a new buyer's rep, point. So we go through a few things like that, and that's how we rank who gets to choose desk duty shifts. So the person who's number one gets to choose. We pass the sheet around and they can choose 3 spots. Person number 2 gets to take 2 spots, and then everyone else goes through and puts 1 spot, and then it circles back around until they fill it out. So that has been very effective in rewarding people who are doing what we want. And I got part of that from Mark Pattison, because he goes, we assign it every week, Monday morning or whenever their time was. He goes, because basically if you're not there, too bad, you don't get it. I was like, what if they're sick? And the team even agreed, who cares? The good thing is it's just 1 week. Your world's not going to end. So we're like, if you're not at Monday's meeting, you don't sign up, right? Because we're not going to track you down at the doctor's appointment to see if you think you'd be better by Thursday to do desk duty. So we keep it really simple and clean, and that's pretty much what we do. Have used current agents as a part of the new agent interview engagement process. Yes, we have played with that a bit, and we have brought people on and had them talk to the agent. We said, how does everyone feel about this person? You know, do you feel like, yes, we've done some of that, and they'll be just as wrong as us, and that person up and walks out 2 weeks later. So we're like, you know, you hear slow to hire, fast to fire. I'm kind of going along more and more with what I've been hearing. I think Gary Vee's the one that said it, fast to hire, fast to fire. Fast to do both, because you're really going to overthink a whole lot of it, and you're not going to get the straight answer until they're working for you, right? A big bonus for us broker owners is the availability of brokers in our state that are available to take the calls for your team members. Can you talk about that and how it's helped you in Texas? Oh, yes, it's huge. I was using it today because there's a broker owner who's joining me at EXP today. So she was like, okay, what do I do about my DBAs, all of this? And as we're sitting there, I'm like, okay. So I get on workplace chat and I start chatting with the broker, one of them. We have 7 in Texas. We've got a lot of agents. So I'm like, how do we do this, this, and this? And she can tell you it was under 3 minutes. Had a response. We're going back and forth. I also can go into the virtual world and ask them. So the difference is, instead of them having to wait for me, and I'm still their team leader, so I still am very, very involved with them. I spend a lot of time with them. But what if I'm sick? What if I'm tired? What if I want to be on vacation and not be bothered, right? I'm no longer leaving my team high and dry. It's the best. I say, go into the broker room. Matter of fact, one of my agents asked me yesterday a question that I wasn't really sure. She goes, how should we handle this? The people are buying this house, and now they would like, there's something next door, and they'd like a right of first refusal on that. And instead of having to research, stop everything I'm doing and dig, I said, she goes, or should I go in the broker room? I said, yes, that is what they're paid to do. So sit there and wait on your questions all day long. It's wonderful. You go in there and they're waiting. Another example I have that I had given Clay in the past was, it was wonderful. I was driving home. My mom was very elderly and was about to pass away. I was really close to it, about a little over a year ago, year and a half. And I was driving home Memorial Day weekend. One of my agents said, oh, I'm really worried. This agent's being strange. They're saying, you better make sure you show my multiple offers, even back then, show my offer to your seller. And I want to present it in person because it's my right. And so she was calling me about it. And I said, well, I think what's really you work for the seller, and you ask that seller if they want, this was an older woman who didn't want to have people sitting down presenting offers to her. She was elderly and she said no. And I said, bottom line is you're allowed to do anything your client basically instructs you to do. But if I were you, I'd make sure it was in writing. I would never let that agent have an opportunity to act like I didn't tell her. I would want it even confirming by text, because she's older, but or an email confirming our conversation where you asked me not to have this person, blah, blah, blah. But she knew I was driving. So she goes, hey, maybe I can just go in the broker room and ask. So she goes in there, Rick Tankersley, who's now our managing broker. He goes, yeah, no, that's correct. Everything Tammy said is right. He goes, but you know what? I'll go one better. He goes, send me over exactly what you're going to text to that other agent, and let me proof it for you. I'll look it over, give you the green light, and you'll know you're covered and you'll feel good about it. She goes, such great service. And she goes, and the amazing thing is this was Sunday of Memorial Day weekend that he answered me so quickly, took over and took all of that off me when I was dealing with my mom, which was much more important at the time. So yes, I mean, we broker owners and team leaders, we're pretty sharp folks, right? But nobody knows everything. So I do love it, Clay, that I have somebody now whose job it is to know everything. And if they don't, they are paid to go figure it out while I go sell some more real estate, right? Or while I have a vacation with my family or whatever else it is I want. So that has been huge. Because I'm not gonna lie to you. What I'm enjoying more now, and this sounds crazy to some of you guys, is this kind of teaching, mentoring, pouring into agents. I do this all the time now with the people that have joined me at EXP. And it's similar to what you do for a team, because I tell them, you want a listing presentation? It's yours. Whatever you want, because I don't make money unless you sell real estate, right? So I give them anything. Mary gives me anything she has. She gives my people whatever they want and whatever level of detail they want. And it's more rewarding, because it's not that I don't owe my EXP downline support and help in any way. I do, but I don't owe them Zillow leads. I don't owe them an office. I don't owe them a big explanation. Y'all will love this story. So remember I told you, if you were on earlier, I told you how I sat down and showed my entire P&L tax return to my team agents. So guess who out of everyone was the one agent who scheduled a meeting with me later to come and make sure she understood. She needed more detail on the numbers. It was the agent who was older than me, so not young and dumb, can't even give her that excuse. Older than me, sat down and wanted all the detail. She'd been with us a year and it had 0 closings. But she needed to understand where the money was going. I'm like, that's what I'm going, what am I doing? Explaining this to the world. It's not to be sacrilegious. I said, but you know, in the Bible, Jesus talked about how a prophet in his own hometown is not accepted or respected or whatever it is. So I literally can put a Zoom invite out and get all you amazing rock stars to join on this and visit with me and my own team. I'm like, anybody want to come to training? And they're like, oh, you again, whatever. And I mean, of course, I'm a little bit facetious, but you know what I mean? They're just like, well, that's just you. I'm used to you. You're familiar, right? And familiarity breeds contempt, I think, sometimes. So it's been enjoyable to have people, whether they're in Idaho or whether they're in Del Rio, wherever they are, go, I want to talk to you. I want some help. I need to know how to handle this with my agent. I need to know your direct mail campaign. Can you give me your Canva template? That's enjoyable to have people that, because right, I talked about true team leaders want to grow agents. They want to help people, right? So sometimes it gets hard. We talked about it before, telling agents to want what you want them to want. And it's a little bit rejection. I think you feel rejection when they don't want you want. They don't want what you want for them, right? But when you can cast your net, not in a size of 10,000 people in Fredericksburg, Texas, but in the entire United States, and people can and have joined me, Jersey, California, my whole perspective, my whole world has grown so much. Now I'm in text with Dan, Beer, Kyle, Whistle, Mary Maloney, Mark Patterson every single day. There's never a day goes by the 5 of us aren't texting. The funny thing is they're all 4 in San Diego, and then there's me, this little texting over here. I don't know what I'm doing in the middle of all that, but it's great, right? It's something so much bigger than I could be on my own. And I can grow people there without, I'm just telling you, without the crushing weight of responsibility and rejection that inevitably comes with running a physical team. A team where you're taking part of their money. You know why my EXP team is so much fun? Because I'm not taking a darn cent from them. And I love it. The company pays me. So I don't have to feel worried about that. I don't make any money off of agents, and I like it that way. Because when it gets weird is when you're a physical team, because guess what? Even if you're taking 20%, 10%, at some point, The truth is, if you run a team, you know, give me an amen, you are taking too much from them and you're never giving them enough. That's just the truth. That's not the real truth. In their minds, they're paying you too much, they're getting too little. That will never change. And that's not because they're bad people. That's just the way of life. Write it down. Ain't gonna change. You're not giving them enough stuff, enough leads, enough credit, enough this. I've been through the whole gamut where at first it was like, well, y'all are taking the lead. You're like competing broker with us. And we're like, well, we're gonna have a lot of these people only getting 40%, and they're not gonna close as well as we do, especially because at that point they're all newer, right? So then you get shamed and guilted and bullied a little bit as a team leader. I bet some of you have been through this, where they literally come to you and they're accusing you and you're doing this and it just crushes your spirit when you think you're creating something amazing, you think you're giving. So this is not an EXP recruiting call by any stretch, but I mean, I can't not, I'm glad you brought that up, Clay, because it is part of my story. It's why I'm having so much fun now in real estate again, where I can give, share, let people have. Some people want that system, some don't. All good. I'm happy for anybody wherever they are if they're happy. Always have been. But for those who are looking for something different, it's joyful. It is just a joy to be able to pour into someone that actually wants to be on this Zoom call with me, or someone that wants to, not someone that I'm begging and having to give prizes to try to make them come do their job, right? And the reason they got in real estate is because they want to have their freedom, and that's fine. They deserve that. But I'm taking money out of their pocket in the terms of a split. So our relationship's always going to be a little different than it is with you guys and the way than it is with people that are my EXP family. I'm not taking from them. I'm paid by the company. And it's just so free. And now I look at it like, you don't make as much on each person, of course, as you would a team member, but I can have a lot more of them. And I can have them in Kalamazoo. I can have them in Baton Rouge, Florida. It doesn't matter. Those who really want to be with me will be with me, right? And not just those who maybe see that we're number one in our market, so they want to build their name. That's all good on them. I don't blame them. And then go off and use my own tricks against me, right? So that's what I have to share. I hope there's some value there. If anyone, I don't think I missed any questions here. Yeah, right. Accountability is a tough one. Be sure and message me, because once this is gone, I don't know for sure if I will be able to see this or not. Do stuff done. That's exactly right. Yeah. Hey, look at everybody. Y'all all knew. Y'all done your disc profile, haven't you? Mm-hmm. Every day you worry about them leaving, and you always will, and you won't fix it. You'll never fix it. So the only thing you can do to fix it, I'm speaking for myself, and you guys have a different experience, that's great. The only thing that has ever taken that burden off was the ability to have a different kind of team, an expansion team, where I get paid and I'm not taking from them, and it's amazing. And I actually work with people, no matter where they are, that want to work with me, and I want to work with them. So it's just been a joy for me, because otherwise you will always feel over a barrel. You will always feel over a barrel. It's just, and again, I can't say it enough times, they're not bad people. They're people. They're humans, right? Humans going to take care of number one and feed their family. So thank you, Jamie. Thank you for joining me. Anyone? Yes, we're staying safe. We've canceled our trip, so we're not going to go out and risk driving on the icy roads. It's just too risky. So please, I'm not sure if I'll be able to get these comments, so feel free to text me, Facebook message me, or let me know in some way if you want to be on that list for the event, and we'll see if we can make that happen. This should also be recorded, and maybe I can figure out how to send it if anybody needs to watch it again, or if you came in late and want to see the first part, I'd be happy to share that with you. But for now, I guess I'll sign off and say thanks to everybody. I enjoyed it so much, and we'll see you guys later.